From the darkest corners of Tumblr comes a podcast where we take two of your favorite fictional characters, get them together, and ask, do we ship it? Hey everybody, Greg Goodness here, obviously not Zach Wilson doing the intro. Zach is unfortunately a little bit under the weather. Did want to welcome everybody to New Year's Eve 2019. We are almost at 2020. That is 20 years after the beginning of the millennium. 20 AW after Will, as I like to call it, and as I like to write on my checks, which Bank of America refuses to cash. We wanted to do something a little bit special for the end of the year, so we thought we would do a retrospective of some of our favorite segments from the past year. Maybe stuff that was a little bit earlier, stuff that people who are just now tuning in haven't caught up on yet. So I asked Zach what his favorite segment was from the past year, and he had a very hard time deciding. He made sure that I put in the disclaimer that this is one of his favorites and not his absolute favorite. But one of his favorites comes from the episode with Roxy Stryer, in which we discuss Monica Geller and Pac-Man. And when I asked Zach why this was one of his favorites, he said, "This is one of my favorites of the year because, frankly, I just love that we created a podcast where we can discuss Pac-Man's genitalia at length." And length certainly did factor into the conversation, maybe not in the way that Zach had implied over that text message, but I'm going to make it extra dirty for y'all. So without any further ado, strap in, here it comes.
And we're back, and this ship, when I first saw it, because this one was sent to us by our friend Esteban Galvez.
Mm-hmm. Friend of the
podcast. And Esteban, at first I was like, this is too bonkers. I don't think we'll ever get to it. And then I realized that there might be more to it than I initially thought.
Like a fine, sexy wine. It got better with time.
Yeah, something like that.
You weren't on board for that analogy at all.
Stick with me, guys. This one is Monica Geller from the classic sitcom Friends.
Never heard of it.
And from the most classic of video games, Pac-Man. Roxy, I feel like you're just like, you have so many questions.
I can't stop making faces because I have questions about all of the things. Like, how do they do it? How do they do anything, actually? How does it work? What does that look like? We'll get into all of it, but
yeah.
Like my 2019 puny little brain cannot handle the maturity of this relationship.
I'll admit, I don't necessarily have the answers to how do they have sex, but
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But I do think that these two have more in common than it appears at first. Pac-Man, when you think about it, he's a family man. Mm-hmm. He raises two children, gets married at one point. He loves food and eating things. Monica is a chef, so there's an immediate connection. Pac-Man is kind of OCD when you get him down to it. He can't move on to the next stage until he eats every single piece of dot fruit on that entire map.
That's what did it for me, is that he is a real clean freak.
Have you guys ever heard, though, of the saying opposites attract? I mean, they might be too similar. You're trying to tell me that she's going to fall in love with him because he eats all the dots? Like, where? What?
This is the great debate of this podcast that we literally change our mind on every single week, is whether opposites attract or whether you can have two peas in a pod. I think that in this particular scenario, it works because Monica, this is sort of how I envision it, right? Monica is maybe planning a dinner party for all of her friends, and they are all slacking off horribly. She is pulling out all the stops and putting in all this work, and nobody's contributing anything. She feels so gosh dang underappreciated. And then when she's out and about and at her lowest, it's like, gosh, I really just wish I had someone that I could rely on, someone that would clean up after themselves, someone that knew a little bit about fine eating and dining. Who does she see but Pac-Man coming down the street, cleaning up all of these dots, very neat, very orderly.
So she sees him outside the window?
Chomping on fruit. Everyone knows that Pac-Man lives in New York City. That is established canon, okay? It's just, back in the day, they didn't have the graphics to fully render the city, so it's very... But if you look at that, man, that middle thing with all the ghosts, that's just Central Park. Everybody knows it.
All those avenues are perfectly lined up. They're all perpendicular, just like New York City's grid system.
So she has this dinner party, and she goes over to her balcony, which we all know she spends a lot of time on because she's moping because the dinner party doesn't go well, and she sees on the street Pac-Man. Mm-hmm. But then does she shout to him? Is she going downstairs? She goes to get him? She's got to bring him upstairs somehow.
I would say that she's just thinking about how much of a failure that dinner party is, and so she decides, maybe I'm just going to go see what that is, because she's never seen a yellow circle cleaning up the streets before.
Not many of us have. I can relate to Monica in this way.
And especially when rendered in 3D, Pac-Man does have arms and legs, so he's like running down the he even has like customized sneakers with his own face on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so she goes downstairs, she stops him, she sees him. Can he communicate in the way that she needs him to? Can he verbalize how beautiful she is right off the bat, or how glad he is that she came running down, or is it more like
Now, if we use the classic Hanna-Barbera Pac-Man cartoon, which is a real thing, and you can look that up, he absolutely can speak English.
okay?
And speaks very much like a working class 1940s bricklayer or something. I'm not exactly sure what tonally they were going for in that cartoon, but he's very much like, I'll give you what for.
Okay, so he sees her. Oh, great looking lady in front of me.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
And he's like, what's that on your shirt? Is that some frosting? It looks delicious. Let me try some. Wow, Monica, what a chef you are. And then it's just...
Oh, it's on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, she is swooning at that point.
I mean, Pac-Man appreciates her cooking.
Just off of the little bit on her shirt.
Yeah.
Is there a moment in which Pac-Man's confused and almost eats Monica?
She is wearing all white in this scenario.
It does make it a little, that's a hard thing to come back from if you almost eat somebody.
I don't think we have to worry about him thinking she's a ghost.
Okay.
But
that's his sweet meet cute, to be honest with you. It's like, how did you two meet? Well, funny story. He thought I was a pellet, and so he tried to eat me. Long story short, yada, yada, yada. We ended up I'm crossing over into Seinfeld.
Yada.
different classic NBC sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
So these two start dating, but how does the dating life go between them? I mean, like, Pac-Man's got a job cleaning up the streets or protect the power pellet forest, according to the cartoon lore.
I don't know, because can she bring him to Central Perk? Is he allowed inside? And
I think he's an autonomous being. I don't know that they're gonna turn him away.
We have a very special episode of Friends dealing with racism in Central Perk.
Well, there's not a lot of diversity on Friends, let me tell you. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they're very rarely accepting of anybody else. Pac-Man might have a hard time. But I think that if they bring Pac-Man in and he's chilling with them at Central Perk, can he keep up? There's a lot of wit going around. You got to understand Joey. You got to understand Chandler. You got to get what that is. Can Pac-Man hang? Because Monica's not going to be down with somebody who can't hang.
That's a good point. We don't have a ton of evidence on Pac-Man's ability to hang, but he's a family man.
Pac-Man
Would
is
he
literally
connect
a
with-
flat character, so I think that may prove sort of a problem.
If
with
you
dealing.
only stick to the classic arcade game, Greg,
But
get
he-
a 3D adventure game.
He clearly has endurance, which means that he has will. And if you just hang in long enough, sometimes that's good enough. So, you know, maybe if he just proves he's not going anywhere and he's going to stay as long as it takes to get the job done, that could be enough for her at this time.
Honestly, I think that he can talk the talk and waka waka the walk.
You liked that one?
You dick. I hate you so much in this moment.
I think he gets along well with Joey. I don't know. There's something about
food.
They connect on food. They're both they both seem very excitable. The high energy. Pac-Man always seemed like a high energy personality to me.
Literally can't stop moving.
Yeah.
But can he hang with her brother Ross? It's a big, big important one for her.
Does Pac-Man get along with Ross Geller?
So he would have to, like, you know, care about his dinosaurs. So they could try to talk about that. Pac-Man probably knows a thing or two about other creatures. Maybe he could talk about the prehistoric age of Pac-Man.
Well, I guess this is the thing is Pac-Man doesn't have that long of a history. He doesn't have a lot of experience to draw on. He's been doing like more or less the same thing forever. When he did have a family, he roped them into the exact same career path.
So maybe he could learn from Ross. Ross could look at him as one of his students.
Yeah, maybe he's like, I've never heard of dinosaurs. All I know is eating power pellets.
I saw them across the arcade many a times, but I never got to actually interact. Tell me more about these dinosaurs.
Pac-Man, have you ever thought about using your chomping abilities to very delicately and very slowly dig dinosaurs out of the ground? Would that be something that you're interested in?
I think Ross actually, though, would like because picturing sex with your sibling with somebody else is not something fun for anybody to do. And I think when you see Pac-Man, if you're Ross, you have to assume they're not doing the dirty in the way that most people do. So maybe that's a positive. Like, all right.
I don't know, but I see endless conversations between, like, especially Joey and Chandler.
About how it works.
In my mind, this is also before Monica and Chandler got together.
Yeah, of course. It has to be.
So the jealousy is not as much of a factor there. But they have long discussions about how does it work.
Okay, well, speaking of that discussion, let me just ask this question right off the bat. Does Pac-Man have a penis?
I think it's like a turtle's penis. Where it's
What
like...
is a turtle's penis like? And also tell me how you know this.
Well, if you refer back to an early episode of the podcast where we discussed the love of Hermione Granger and Donatello the Ninja Turtle, we did extensive research on the penile facets of a turtle being. Also, there's like a weirdly large amount of articles on Gizmodo about the subject.
Okay, teach me.
It goes all up inside him when it's not in use.
But when it comes out,
and it is large when it comes out. Turtles have enormous penises.
Pac-Man tongue.
Oh,
See, that's where my mind goes immediately, is like, Pac-Man is more of a mouth guy. He gets down. Pellets aren't the only thing that he's chomping on, if you catch my drift.
Well, it's got, I mean, just the way that he looks, he's made for the vag.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
He's got to go down.
he can go super wide so he can wrap around.
Then to be clear, though, is his penis where his mouth is?
It's like an alien where it just pops out of the mouth.
It might.
Or is his penis like under him?
It might come out, if we're going to continue with the turtle analogy, it like comes out and then hooks.
But it comes out of the chomper or out of the bottom?
I think it would have to come out of the bottom. I mean, like...
You can't have a penis mouth.
Yeah, and that mouth is constantly moving. So, like, can you imagine if you get your penis caught in your mouth while you were trying... Like, that's just... It's too dangerous.
I hate when that happens.
God...
The worst.
God would not be so cruel as to design a system like that.
You're also always sucking your own dick. Then.
Yeah, then Pac-Man would have no need to go out and date. He'd just be like, nope, I'm fine on my own.
Look, the universe is a big and expansive place. There are sex organs in all kinds of different places on different creatures. But I think for the sake of argument, Pac-Man being part man, it does come from between his legs.
Yeah, I have to agree, because otherwise we've been thinking about this video game the wrong way this whole time. It's really like him moving forward, and his excitement is just like, you guys don't know, my penis is in my mouth.
So, like, imagining that he does have
something.
Something.
Yeah.
I would say, again, the fact that he's a big mouth, probably pretty good at using it.
Yeah, and for both sex stuff and eating, like she loves being able to cook a ton of food for people, so he could eat all of the food. So there's that. But like, what are they talking about?
That's my worry. I don't know that Pac-Man... I mean, look, he does get out. Like, he's fought in Smash Brothers, so he has experience. He's been into different worlds and seen a lot of different things. But I don't know that he connects with Monica in terms of just, like, shared experiences. I'm worried that they don't have enough that they can connect on. Like, Pac-Man fights ghosts and will occasionally battle Cloud from Final Fantasy, but can he relate to having daddy issues like Monica does?
Well, I don't know, but when we look at her so I know in this version we're saying that she hasn't dated Chandler yet, but just looking at her interest in men, she ends up with somebody who comes from a very different upbringing than her, you know, who ultimately ends up having two moms, who is not Jewish, so she can't relate there. He's really messy, super duper disorganized, and has a really boring job and everybody's always making fun of him for that, but can make jokes. So I feel like as long as she feels happy and entertained, she doesn't really care about that. Can they relate from their history? It's more about moving forward. Can they build a life together?
As someone who has seen the Pac-Man cartoon, Pac-Man definitely cannot make a joke. Not a good one, anyways.
That might be a big problem for her.
Yeah.
Pac-Man's very serious. He's an OCD person. He's very cleanly. So while that would be great for the two of them, I don't know that that's what Monica needs. I think Monica needs somebody who's more fun, and Pac-Man's pretty rigid.
Something in the pro Pac-Man camp, though, is that, remember, Monica and her previous boyfriend broke up because he didn't want kids, and she really did. We know Pac-Man's willing to have children.
So I think that's what it is. She's rebounding, and she sees, oh, this guy wants kids.
And a family.
That's what I want. So she almost looks past the fact that he doesn't really have a good sense of humor and his stories don't connect with her at all. She doesn't understand what it is to fight a fox from outer space. That means nothing to her.
But ultimately, they don't have that connection, and therefore, I don't think that they'll last the test of time.
Yeah, I don't think this lasts more than maybe a season.
I mean, if anything, I think this is a 3-episode arc.
This is when the writer's strike is happening.
And they brought in a bunch of video game writers to fill in. Yeah, I like that explanation.
It is like a very much a learning experience for her, though. Like
She's ready to move forward to her real partner.
Yeah.
And maybe he is too. Now he knows more about dinosaurs and other things.
He's ready to call up Miss Pac-Man, get back together,
Right.
and take care of those kids he spawned.
He just calls up Miss Pac-Man, how you doing? And then instantly, back in love, back in the saddle, they're back together again.
It's Mrs. Pac-Man before you know it.
It's a happy tale in the end.
It's a happy tale.
They both grow.
They didn't quite make it, but they both were better for it. And that's Monica Geller and Pac-Man.
Ah, that's good podcasting. Oh, hello, I didn't see you all there. Well, now it's time for my favorite segment of the year. And again, it was really, really hard deciding. There are just so many great ones that it was really difficult to choose. But one of my favorite segments from the past year was from the episode with Candace Martellero. She helped us discuss Jabberjaw and Jaws. Now, this is one of my favorites, mostly just because I got to do the Jabberjaw voice a whole lot. I don't really care about any of the actual content of this segment. I just know that I got to do Jabberjaw voice, and that made me happy on the inside. So now you guys are subjected to it for 10 minutes. Here it comes.
All right, we're back, and it's time for our second couple of the night. And this one came to us via our email, our very confusing shipsinthe.night email at gmail.com, where you can send your suggestions. This one Jabberjaw from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Jabberjaw, which you probably don't remember unless you're old like us. And in what is a very clear distinction, Jaws, the shark from Jaws.
It's a couple with bite. Yes, had to say it. Had to be the first one to say it. Yes. Take that, you guys.
In case you're not familiar with Jabberjaw, it was a one-season cartoon made in the vein of Scooby-Doo, where a literal musical band of teenagers and their shark drummer, who sounds like one of the Three Stooges, met Rodney Dangerfield.
His catchphrase is literally, "I don't get any respect." Like, it's kind of shocking how much.
Just took it directly.
There's like, it's Scooby-Doo, and we have Rodney Dangerfield. It's great. Just put it out there.
And I'm pretty sure they literally took the sound clips from the Three Stooges and just dubbed it over the shark.
It's all like,
talk.
whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think of this cartoon great white shark meeting the ultimate great white shark, Jaws?
Well, first of all, I'm going to call him Bruce because calling him Jaws sounds stupid.
We're going to be hitting a lot of hard J's if we have to keep saying Jaws and Jabberjaw.
Yeah.
So I am all for calling it. Bruce was the name of the mechanical shark like
Yes.
behind the set.
Yeah,
That's
they
okay.
called him Bruce.
I am all for that.
Yeah.
Bruce, strong and silent type. Jabberjaw, obviously, it's in his name, can talk a mile a minute. So I think you're going to bump up against a couple of problems right away. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm still laughing at strong silent type. Like, I pictured Jabberjaw, if Jabberjaw were smoother, coming up and being like, so stoic. Tell me more. Like,
Well, I think that's the thing. The attraction from Jabberjaw is instantaneous. Bruce is the ultimate incarnation of what a shark is supposed to be.
yeah, he's a killing machine. Yeah.
Just built like, has every one of those teeth. He puts every single one to use. But yeah, Jabberjaw is the fun type. That's the thing. You have like the fun party guy, and then the hardworking, like strong silent type. Very clear opposites, but and we go back and forth on this because it's a case by case basis. Do opposites attract? I don't know, Candace. What do you think? Do opposites attract in this scenario?
Not initially. I feel like I'm also laughing because there's also the dynamic of Bruce is the blue collar and Jabberjaw is the artist with his band. But yeah, I
Bruce
feel,
is me like, this damn hippie
yes,
traveling across. Get a job, you. I'm off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. Do you know how expensive it is to live here?
do you have any idea how hard I work?
Yeah, he's Bruce is the New England middle class, hardworking guy.
Yeah.
Just wants to get a beer and root for the Patriots.
God. And yeah, Jabberjaw is the California freewheeler. Bruce is like, listen, not all of us can just follow the currents as we please, Jabberjaw.
He's in town for a music festival that they're hosting on the Cape.
Oh, that's
There
good.
you go.
I like that.
So that's where we could start our meet cute, is Jabberjaw is there to play. He's trying a new solo career, which for a drummer is an interesting gambit.
Yeah.
But he's
Ringo Starr is right next to him like, keep going, you can do it.
I'll get into the Hall of Fame one of these days. So Jabberjaw is on stage performing when there's a shriek from the beach. Some kid wandered into the water and Bruce needed a snack.
Yeah.
this is Bruce's way of shutting down the music festival. It's like, oh gosh, these kids with their gosh darn music and their fancy electrical guitars. Whatever happened to the good old days of swing music? I prefer freeform jazz. Get off the beach, you ruffians.
Turns out the whole time Bruce has just been killing people because he was just sick of their antics on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. This is a private beach, mind you. Get out of my waters. I have water right here.
You just have Martin Brody running through. We have to shut down the music festival.
Do you have any idea how much money this music festival brings in?
This is Jaws 5.
Yeah. They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, Jaws.
I mean, I've seen the Jaws sequels. This is up there with I can see this holding water.
So, when they have to launch the hunt for Bruce, is that where Jabberjaw gets involved? Like, he joins the mission to hunt down Bruce?
I mean, this technically qualifies as a mystery, which I feel like, even if that's not necessarily what Jabberjaw was always doing, seems very much in the vein of what he wanted to do.
I mean, they were always getting into hijinks, trying to help out, save the day.
Right,
It makes sense that he and his band would then pick up, I guess there's one more adventure for this old crew.
Yeah.
Into the water.
Yeah. Ah, we're really in the deep end on this one. Jesus Christ, why couldn't I have been a Hanna-Barbera cartoon writer in the 1960s?
It seems so simple and odd.
So I can see this. Jabberjaw goes into the water and finally comes face to face with the uptight and stuffy Bruce. What happens from there?
I feel like it's almost like a classic scenario of the first he finds him obnoxious and eventually Jabberjaw just wears him down.
I mean, Jabberjaw is a talker. Maybe he thinks, okay, I can reason with this old man shark. Like, he just needs to hear some of our groovy tunes and he'll be into it.
Dun 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 dun.
Da 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 da. That's a boring song. Let me jazz it up for you. Da 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 ba 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 da da da.
I feel like inevitably there has to be a moment where Jabberjaw comes through for Bruce.
Yeah.
In a way Bruce doesn't expect, and it makes him see Jabberjaw in a different light.
I have an idea of what that is.
Yeah?
I think they take, they being the people on land, I think the people on land take their cues from previous Jaws movies. They're like, we're going to throw an oxygen tank into the water, they're going to bite it, and then boom goes the shark. They throw in that oxygen tank, but I think Jabberjaw grabs it. And so when they shoot it, he goes off like a balloon in the air, like flying through the air, propelled by this giant oxygen tank. Splashes down into the water in front of Bruce. Wow, must have been a riptide. Wow. And then Bruce is like, you saved me because I'm in a debt to your honor.
And what happens to Brody in this scenario?
Dead. Bruce immediately chows down.
I feel like if I were Brody and I had after everything and I had this shot set up and I'm going to shoot the thing, I say my classic line, and then that happens, I would just give up and jump in the water because nothing matters at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So Bruce is...
How can I ever repay you? You can take me out for a date.
Yeah. You owe me one dinner.
And naturally, Hooper and Jabberjaw become friends.
Oh, yeah.
I think
for sure.
inevitably they become besties because Hooper's back there making his obnoxious faces. And that just goes right along with Jabberjaw. They're both obnoxious, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But you gotta take my friend Hoop along with us. Dinner for 3. Yeah. So becomes this weird third wheel situation where we're like, I feel like I'm in the middle of something here.
He's just excitably talking about scars.
So these two are now dating, but how does that relationship go? Because Bruce is going to want to get back to hunting, eating, whatever comes in his way. This doesn't seem like Jabberjaw's thing.
Haven't you ever seen like an Archie Bunker scenario where you have like the old stoic man that's just a crab ass and they have like the bubbly wife that's always like friendly to everybody? I think that's their dynamic
Okay.
of like, you know, for where he's kind of crotchety and grouchy, Jabberjaw's the social butterfly of the
I
family.
see that.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. After a long, hard 9-to-5 union day, Bruce comes back home to Jabberjaw. Welcome home, honey. I made you your favorite. Yeah, that's a beautiful sort of scenario. And I can totally see that, yeah, Jabberjaw being the musical genius that Jabberjaw is like, what's that sound? I hear something coming from afar. That's the Jaws theme song. The new Jaws theme song.
Da-dun, da-dun, da-da-da-da-da. Honey, I'm home.
Yeah.
And I could totally see, like, if this turns into a sitcom couple, like, because that's what this is devolving into. This is a 3-camera sitcom where they're living at home, and every time that Bruce is just sitting in front of the TV, not helping with the dishes again, I don't get no respect. The tagline, I'm just saying, the catchphrase is already there.
Yeah. It's I Love Brucey. This is,
It's a spin-off of Jabberjaw. He spun off from his own show into another.
yeah, he became a secondary character from his own show.
It's Married with Children, but with sharks.
Yeah.
That's the pitch.
Oh, I would buy that in a hot New York minute.
Yes.
So they
Yeah,
have
straight to syndication, 100-episode order right off the bat.
They have a pair of children, a hot teenage daughter shark, and a young nerdy boy. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to live their lives.
Yep.
Yeah, 10 Sharko rules for dating my teenage daughter. Yeah, it's all there.
10 rules for dating my teenage shark.
Yeah, there we go.
It's just even cleaner.
Okay. According to Jaws, yeah. Guys, we're filling up a whole network slate. Shark Week does not need to end with just unscripted programming. We can have an entire sitcom for Discovery.
We just came up with a beautiful pitch.
Yeah, and I can see this, like, look, they're gonna get on each other's nerves. This is very much like Beetlejuice and Elvira. Maybe
Yeah.
not with the whole, like, open relationship thing. I'm pretty sure
No.
sharks mate for life. I don't know. I didn't watch enough Shark Week to figure it
I
out.
say I'm not a shark expert, but
But these sharks do, and that's
Yeah.
why America loves them.
that's why America loves them. The two worst sharks in history, but in different ways.
But that's the thing, is that they balance each other out right into a nice gray area that middle America absolutely loves. They
Yes.
win the primetime demo every Wednesday night.
Bruce and Jabberjaw.
Oh, man. How I Met Your Shark coming to CBS. King of Pacifics.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
trying there.
Mad about sharks.
This could just go on all day.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think that they've found, listen, it's a very contemptuous sort of, all you sort of relationship. But man, it's that straight up sitcom episodic structure that America wants love and can fall in love with again. We just need to put sharks in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm shocked no one has thought of this before.
Somebody get the Discovery Channel on the line now. All right. Well, I think we can swim away from this ship for now and leave them to their sitcom life.
All right, we got one last segment for you guys, and this is going to be a confusing one. Some longtime listeners of the pod may remember that we made a format change to our matchmaker segment. We put in a time limit and some music underneath. Basically, we did that because a lot of times the matchmaker segments would go completely off the rails. And this is one of those times. Before we implemented the change in format, we had this discussion with Neve Brooke, who wanted to match up Sid from Toy Story, the maniacal little kid who likes to destroy all of his toys. It went so far off the rail that I think we gave Sid a gun, but in the form of a transformer. It got real weird, but mostly I just like hearing Neve's laugh. It's one of my favorite sounds in the entire world, so now you guys get to hear it as well. Here it comes.
All right. That aside, it's time for our Matchmaker segment. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, Matchmaker segment is where Neve has brought us a single character from fiction that Greg and I, as expert shipping matchmakers, are going to have to try to find love for. So Neve, who have you brought us today?
Okay, so I've brought with me a Disney villain, classic Disney villain, but in my opinion, this may influence your arguments, a misunderstood figure within the Disney mythos. I'm bringing Sid from Toy Story.
Yes.
I want you two to find the perfect mate, the perfect match, make the perfect match for Sid from Toy Story, the weird child who likes to blow up his toys with explosives that somehow he gets his hands on.
Not just blow up toys, but also likes to create new
he
things.
also likes to rip toys apart and fuse them together in different combinations.
And this works out great because I tried to set up Sid a couple weeks ago with Charlie in the Box from the Island of Misfit Toys, but it did not get chosen. Whoever it was, I can't remember who you brought, Greg, but
I can't either. That doesn't matter. Nothing we do matters.
But I'm excited to help find Sid somebody to love this week. Greg, do you want to go first, or do you want me to throw some stuff out there?
I would love for you to throw some stuff out there, because based on what you say, I'm going to adjust my answer accordingly.
All right. Well, I gave this some thought, and to me, Sid is... At his heart, I agree. I think he's misunderstood, especially like as he gets older and like becomes an adult. He's gonna have like a lot of stuff going on in his head. He went through a traumatic experience where toys attacked him as a child. No one's gonna believe him. So he's been in therapy for years. He's trying to find ways to express himself. I imagine that Sid becomes an artist.
I see.
Of sorts, because he, to me, the combining of toys to like make new things, that was never like really like a heinous act to me. The blowing up of toys is like pretty like crazy, but building new things from like interchangeable parts, that suggests that he has an artist streak in him at some point down the line. So with that in mind, I think the perfect person to set Sid up with would be Maude Lebowski from The Big Lebowski.
I see.
Julianne Moore's character, who is as she described, an avant-garde artist who flies in on like pulley systems to paint from above. She has all kinds of crazy ideas. She lives in her own world, and she wants to help create. She wants to create new things, and she wants a baby because that's, to her, I think, the next great adventure. And Sid is a kid who is a guy as an adult who's probably locked into some Arrested Development because of his being attacked by toys. So as somebody who's trying to get past that through what I imagine to be like an artistry, he's trying to take up painting or sculpting, make new things. If he and Maude get together, they can really build off of each other's artistic streaks. They can learn from each other and build new things. She might find that there are new ways to express art by combining mediums or things like that. Toys might be her new way to express herself that she discovers from Sid, and Sid discovers through her that there are ways that he can grow up, including some coitus with Julianne Moore. I'm taking
That's
lines
the
from...
most disgusting words I've ever heard you say, Zach.
They say it in
Some
the...
coitus with Julianne Moore.
Yes, but they specifically use the word coitus in Big Lebowski, so
All
it
right.
felt like it had to be used in
Go ahead.
context
You
here.
said it. You have
She
you have to
flies-
live with your decision.
Yes, I wholeheartedly live with that decision.
She flies in on that giant rig. She just flies over the bed and drops on top of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Sid is like, he's still wearing that skull t-shirt, but she doesn't mind. This is all about expressing who you are, that she's all about the lifestyle that she chose. And I think that she and Sid could be very happy together as like two artists trying to figure each other out and helping each other learn a little bit more about themselves. That's my piece.
Yeah.
Greg, who are you thinking?
All right, so like your argument is compelling and everything, and I think there is something to be said for the whole artist aspect. But what you're missing, I think, is that if we are taking this post-toy attack on Sid, where he has now seen these toys like come to life, I think that he is gonna kind of snap, and regardless of how you felt about him before, he is definitely gonna go full villain after seeing all of these toys like get up, because he sees the entire world playing with these toys and like, you know, having a good time with them and loving them and bringing them into their home. And only Sid knows the evil truth, which is that these are maniacal, ill-meaning beings that have infiltrated our lives. So I think that Sid is going to need someone who can come in and sort of help him cleanse the world.
Oh no.
And create like
That's the grossest thing you've said.
and create a new world order free of toys, but also something that satisfies that primal urge within him to take one thing and make it into another. So I think that the perfect match for Sid would be Megatron of the Transformers universe. Because not only does he want to help Sid in that master cleansing sort of way of building up this new world in which we've erased all of the existing humanity that has welcomed these evil toys into their lives, but also when Sid sees him transform from a vehicle into a war machine that can blow shit up, Sid, I'm going to age him up so that I can say this, Sid is going to achieve the strongest, most potent erection of his entire life.
I believe Sid was already capable of erections in the first Toy Story.
Well, legally, I need to age him up to 18 in order for this to work.
All right.
So I think that that's going to tap into a primal urge where not only is he fulfilling, I guess you could call it like his self-actualization in that he wants to erase the world as it is, but also he is going to get his jollies off whenever he sees this transforming. Because it's going to be like, oh, it's a toy, but it's also a war machine. It's also a vehicle. It was one thing that was another. And like, I think that Megatron is going to give him a little bit of customization in there too. Like, listen, I can sort of be whatever you want me to be.
In this version, what does Megatron turn into when he's not a robot?
In this version, let's say a bicycle.
A bicycle.
Yeah, why not?
Bicycle. Megatron traditionally turns into a gun.
Yeah. That's,
Okay. Well, that would also be something that Sid would love.
Which, if
Yeah. Sid turns 18. First thing he's gonna do is buy a gun.
Oh yeah,
and
especially
guess
now
what
that
his gun turned into?
So wait, is in your version is Sid turning into just like a lone man with a gun?
oh,
I think
Sid
that's-
is for sure a lone wolf. Like He is that guy who
no.
is building like tinfoil enclosures in his house, making sure that no toys can get in. Like,
This
he is
doesn't
a
sound like a
great-
good path for Sid to be going down. We need to get the gun away from him.
We have had this conversation so many times, okay? It is not about what is best for humanity. It is about what is best for these two individuals. Sid has snapped beyond the point of redemption. There is no bringing him back. So what I'm trying to do is pair him with someone that can get himself actualized to his most powerful self.
And here's the best way to get Sid back. You bring him to Maud, who's gonna drop him with some LSD, and then we're gonna reboot his brain.
Oh yeah, he'll love that. LSD and a bunch of toys surrounding him, that won't cause any sort of freak out at all.
No, she's gonna be there. She's gonna help him through this, and she's gonna bring him into a more positive place. She's gonna be one of the guys that's just hanging out with Maud at her place, just like he gets with Maud. He's gonna be having sex with Julianne Moore, naked on
Keep
paintings.
talking about it. It keeps bumming me out.
Sex with Julianne Moore is bumming you out.
Just us in this room talking about it. It's bumming me out.
Welcome to the podcast, Neve.
Thank you.
This is actually one of our cleaner ones, so we just delayed it to the end. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to for me is that I think, like, my final argument on this, I think that Sid is better off finding that artistic streak that he showed when he was taking like erector sets and combining them with doll heads, and like those were creepy as hell, but they did show that the deep down Sid does have a creative streak, and what he needs is somebody who can help him foster that and grow that so that he can become a better person.
And I think that Sid wants to have sex with a gun. So I guess we're at a fundamental impasse.
Well, the time has come, Neve, for you to decide basically between two very different paths for Sid to go down. So who do you want to set Sid up with?
Here's the thing. I agree with you a lot about Sid's creativity. I think he was someone who simply like had a wild imagination, and that imagination was a little explosive when it comes to blowing up toys. Also taking toys apart and creating new things. But you have to remember, Sid is a bad boy. He is a bad boy. And I just don't see him like settling down for the bullshit that Maud's peddling. I think he's a free spirit. And he's a lone wolf. He's someone who's gonna be wearing those long leather dusters well into adulthood.
Well, Toy Story came out what, in like 1994?
95.
95. Yes. So 4 years later, he's like, what, 13 in that movie?
He
So he's 18 when The Matrix comes out.
He sees The Matrix. He already knows that toys can talk. He's maybe buying into this all could be a simulation. And he needs to break out of it. And for that reason, I'm not sure he would like. I think he's gonna need someone that feeds off his bad energy. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna like go. He's not gonna have the patience to let anyone dig into his soul. To anyone find the good person there. He doesn't have that patience. Now, I like Megatron, but Megatron also is a toy.
And what greater sexual fantasy than to have sex with the thing that you hate?
Let's think about this. Sid's turned 18. He's going to buy a gun, of course, as Sid would do when he turned 18. His gun suddenly comes alive, just like those toys all the years ago that he used to repress. And morphs into a giant fucking killer robot. Like, this is gonna send him down a path that it might just shut him down completely.
It's happening again.
Exactly. And what is it about Megatron that's gonna that's going to bring order to Sid's chaos.
Well,
The chaos of Sid's life.
I think, and this isn't necessarily funny, but I think that when Megatron transforms, right? Megatron is going to see this lone wolf, this kid who is ready to take on humanity. And he's going to be like, no, I'm not like the others. I don't mean you ill will like that creepy cowboy that once threatened you as a child.
Saw this happen.
Yeah, Megatron knows all.
Megatron is omniscient. He is God. He is the biblical God.
He used the crystal.
The all spot.
Yes, there we go. That one to look into the past and see what he was. And I think that he says, I don't mean you harm. I want to help you, Sid. I see the world like you see the world. And I want us to work together to cleanse the world of these evil toys. And I think to that end, he brings them in.
Are the what's the name of the good guy robots?
The Autobots.
So are the Autobots robots or toys within this world? Do Transformers exist as toys in this world as well as real beings? Or is Megatron this whole time actually just a Megatron toy, but it's alive in the Toy Story universe?
Oh, shit. So it's still a very tiny Megatron,
Yes.
but he still has the same ambitions of like conquering the world.
Sure.
Or maybe
he's
this
like
is
Buzz
this
Lightyear, where he has the personality of what he's been made into instead of knowing he's a toy, which they never... Is that something that all toys go through, and they all have kind of the growing up period where they realize that they're a toy that Buzz Lightyear goes through, or is something wrong with Buzz Lightyear?
They never really
and
go
all
into
the Buzz
that.
Lightyears, because the second Buzz Lightyear also thinks he's Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
I think that is something that in the Toy Story universe is specifically wrong with Buzz Lightyear. But I do like this fiction even more now, where this is just a regular Megatron toy.
I feel like Barbie and Ken do act like Barbie and Ken, though. They're the only characters that I can think definitely like act like their persona. Like they live the Barbie and Ken lifestyle.
Right.
They don't
so
go
does-
like, being toys and giving people eating disorders. It sucks. They're into it.
And so does Woody to an extent. Like Woody is like, I'm the sheriff. I have to corral
Yeah.
all these people. Like they take on the personality.
But Woody understands the harsh reality of his situation.
Yeah. I mean,
and
so
constantly grapples with it throughout the series.
so
Toy Story
the
is
toys,
just Toy Story grappling with his own death. That's the theme of every single one.
I mean, the new one is apparently going to tackle like what is a toy and what does that mean. So we may get those answers.
Oh my god!
When
just the existential dread of the Toy Story universe.
That's what the new trailer is. It's a little spork with googly eyes that is granted life.
I'm excited. I hope the new Toy Story is like just silly and dumb.
Well, we won't know yet if Sid will be in the new Toy Story.
He's in Toy Story 3 though.
Supposedly as a garbage man.
He's the garbage man. I remember seeing it. The garbage man still has the same fucking t-shirt.
Yep.
Hopefully a couple of sizes up.
So garbage man Sid. Mm-hmm. You got to make a choice, Neve. Who are you gonna set Sid up with?
I feel like just from like who is the most likely that Sid would have a connection with, I think I'm gonna have to go with Megatron. I just don't. I think if he saw Maude, he'd just call her a nerd and skateboard away. I don't think he'd give her a shot at his heart.
Well, thank you. This is the first time we have ever had a guest that asked legitimate questions about the ship and made me think like, oh shit, is it Megatron as a giant evil robot or just Megatron as a toy? I wasn't even sure going
You
in.
had follow-up questions
Yeah,
to hone in on your answer.
Right. Which we appreciated. That was very good.
And that is going to conclude the last segment and indeed the last episode from 2019 here at Ships in the Night. Everyone, I do want to take a quick second to really be honest with y'all for a second. Zach and I love doing this, and a big part of that is because y'all are fantastic. You send us great ships, you encourage us online, you download, you tell your friends, you rate, you comment, you subscribe. We really do have some of the best fans ever, and listening to you guys talk about how our dumb ships brings you some level of joy, makes our lives just so much better. So sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, both Zach and I, and I'm sure all of our previous guests, I can't speak for all of them, but I'm gonna do so anyway. Sumi, we are wishing you and yours a very happy 2020. May all of your loved ones and you and everybody that you care about find the ship that works for you. Jeez, that was clumsy, but you guys get the sentiment. Anyways, for the very last time in 2019, this has been Ships in the Night, casting off.